Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of our Lunch and Learn here at High Level. We spend time with experts in our community, and I have Sophie Kessner here, and she's been phenomenal with our certified admin program and been very active in our community. She and I decided to do a Lunch and Learn because we want to teach you some really, really cool things that are relevant, and it's going to probably move the needle in your world if you're watching this on the weekend. Sophie, thank you for saying yes to us. Thank you for being part of our group panel that was live in our SaaSpreneur group a few weeks back, and I got the chance to meet you there. Welcome in.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Before we get started, Sophie, what's your story? What's your background? A lot of us that are digital citizens and entrepreneurs see a lot of cool things and stories kind of play out, but we would love to know who you are, where'd you come from, what kind of industry do you work in, what are your services? Help us understand your story.
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit of a different one. I am self-taught in every way, which is pretty cool, except for my background in trauma work, coaching, and everything that's not technology. So, um, I started out in the personal development space back in like 2015 and uh, got into coaching in early 2017 and ran my business online through Instagram and Facebook. So my focus has always been on organic marketing. And what I found come circa 2019, I had gotten pregnant for the first time with my son and realized very quickly that Instagram and Facebook marketing were not going to be long-term sustainable strategies for me to run my business, especially going into motherhood. So that was really when I found Go High Level and when I was forced to have to figure out tech because I could not continue to run my business through Instagram. And it worked at the time, but as the business was continuing to grow, having to oversee all of the DMs and the comments and the constant posting and no way of managing and having 30 different softwares was really chaotic and it was causing a lot more turbulence and turmoil than was actually helping the business grow. So in 2020, I heard about Go High Level when your guys' Facebook group probably only had like maybe 10,000 people in it. It was pretty small. And got in there back when it was a very, very, very different version of what it is now. But I was excited about it because there was so much more communication between the developer team and the users. And that was something that I hadn't experienced. Because previous to jumping into your guys' platform, I was using things like Thinkific, Kajabi. I hated ClickFunnels, never got into ClickFunnels, ConvertKit. Everything that I could find, I had tried, but there were so many issues with like Zapier and integrations, and it was just really overwhelming for me. So I dove all in and initially got into Go High Level for myself to figure out, okay, how can I clean up my business backend to make my life easier? Number one. And then what I started to quickly realize was, oh, wow, it may not be as pretty as some of these other platforms at first,
Yeah.
as I'm learning how to use, your guys's design tools on the funnel builder and things like that, but it was functional. So I was fine with sacrificing some fashion for function because I was like, I don't really care about that. What I more so care about is can I get my time back? And so that was a big decision that I made around transitioning off of using all of these other tools and platforms and deciding to move forward with Go High Level was their team is so much more engaged and interactive and like willing to listen to feedback. And also when I ask for something, 99% of the time it's like, yes, or it's coming soon. And I was like, if I can just be patient, I will have everything I need in one place. Uh, and lo and behold, 4 years later, here we are, and we're like 90% of the way there, minus like one or
Yeah.
two things that I'm waiting on. But I know that it's going to come. And so I think the biggest shift for me when I was switching to Go High Level and learning the platform, because it is an intense interface when you're first getting started. Um, was just the reward on the other end of having everything in one place, having it be really easy to manage and understand. And now I think it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. And what led to me also being able to build out the agency that we have now that we've been running for the last 4 years, where what I did for me, I was able to do for multiple clients again and again and again and again. And now so many other people get to experience the benefits of what Go High Level has to offer.
I love it. And from a development standpoint, I can tell you it's hard to be fashionable while the focus is functionality. So
Yes.
I appreciate you sharing that because we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of features. And of course, we can all go back and design the UI and the UX
Yeah,
really
yeah.
well. But I think the overarching common theme that we always hear is like, well, I know it works. I just, have to have the right solutions all in one place. And so let's go further into what we're going to teach here today, Sophie. We're going to spend the next 30, 40 minutes going through some insights that you found that you feel like every high level should know. Help us understand what you got for us today. And if you want to share your
Yeah.
screen, go right ahead. Let me just make sure you can.
Cool.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that I found and what I was really obsessed with learning and enjoyed with your guys' platform is you have the ability to integrate automations and email marketing and funnels in a way that no other platform has been able to date. Uh, and
What do you
so,
what do you mean by that? Like,
yeah, so to create a funnel with certain triggers to where, depending on things that they answer on a survey or on a form, dictates where they go or how they get tagged in the system, which dictates what kind of email sequence they get on the back end, and then
mm.
dictates how we interact with them on the front end. We're talking like 4 to 5 different softwares anywhere else. Uh, and so that was a big thing for me is the customizability of it, and then also how much cleaner and easier it was to do all of those things instead of having to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to custom develop it somewhere
Yeah,
else, which we could have done, but it wouldn't have been cost effective. It wouldn't have been time efficient. And it wouldn't have made a lot of sense for the
yeah.
clients that we work with.
Yeah, so those of you that are watching, Sophie and I got a chance to meet even prior to this segment, and we kind of planned out the conversation. And we're going to talk a bit more about quiz-based lead generation. And what that's going to do for most people is give you the ability to segment your audience in a very cool way, where you can have very customizable, very personalized customer journey for every one of your avatars, maybe multiple ICPs that you are serving. Is that right, Sophie?
That's 100% correct. Yes.
Okay, so tell us what you got. Help us understand what it means to build out a quiz-based system. Like what does that even look like? Where do we even start if that's all new for me as a brand new marketer?
Yeah, so there's two ways to go about it. I know that the developers on the back end are actually working on this future to have it native in GHL relatively soon, I hear. But again, not going to give timeframes because you never know.
Yep.
So I'm excited for that, but we found workarounds for this. So the two tools that we would use would be surveys, and then the automations, and then of course landing pages. So the funnel builder. Well, three technically. Now, depending on how robust you want to get with your logic and whether or not you have skills in like custom CSS and custom code, because we've had to collaborate with other developers on just creating the logic piece since that's not currently native in GHL, but it's coming um, to where we can create more robust score-based quizzes, meaning if somebody scores 10 points in category A, 5 points in category B, 6 points in category C, and 3 points in category D, how does it then use logic and math to redirect where they need to go and then provide the information for the user? So that's really where we found Go High Level being such an awesome piece. And then what I'm going to do here is actually show you a little bit of the back end on what this looks like and the different
Awesome.
iterations of it over the years.
Yeah.
So let's see.
And as Sophie's pulling this up, tell us what city and state you're checking in from, or give us a one in the comments as you're watching this live, as you're trying to work on your business and just kind of improve different things. As you might have heard, 1% better every single day is should be the goal for everybody in business, right? So hopefully you're getting some few nuggets out of this as we kind of go deeper into this conversation.
Hmm. Yep. Cool. So I'm going to show you guys and give you like an actual behind the scenes look of what the first iteration of this circa like 2021 looked like. And so yeah, we're talking like back when before we could even customize surveys. Um, and what we did is we actually just used everything. This is all built via GHL, where folks would come in and they would take the quiz, and we would have to obviously minimize the number of questions. But depending on how they answer said questions, it would redirect them to a specific thank you page. So it's a great way, in my opinion, and probably one of the best ways to generate leads. Um, that's not not having to use like a free guide or things like that.
Mhm. So what you're
And for
showing is the old way of doing it.
correct, this is the
Okay.
original way that we built out in 2021. And we keep it around to remember how hard we used to have to work. And what's nice about that is we were then able to create things like the results page and then have custom landing pages based on student results. So depending on what they answered and how they answered, they were redirected to different stages or different pages with customized offers tailored to their answers,
Mm,
which meant we were
interesting.
able to be so much more targeted in our messaging and our marketing and make sure we were speaking to the right kind of pain points or right kind of things that they were needing help with. Uh, and so as you can see, it worked. It was functional. Definitely not the most beautiful iteration of it possible. Uh, until we learned about Score App, which you guys launched, I want to say the integration 2023, late 2023 with Score App. And so Score App as directly integrated with GHL, which made my life so much easier because then we were able to create so much more robust quizzes. And then the interface was a little cleaner. So in this example, let's see if we can get to da, na, 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 na. The questions. Now, when we build out the surveys, we didn't really show you the survey backend of what that looks like, but I'll kind of show you in a moment here. This would replace the survey builder in GHL, and we
Mm,
would be building the quiz through Score App. So this is what we've been doing modern day 2023 and beyond until GHL releases this feature where we're able to actually create categories. So we can get a lot more detailed with, the questions that we're asking and building in point-based systems. And then from there, we can have them go to specific categories, which then correlate to specific result pages where users can also see a more a more comprehensive breakdown of how they're scoring. Right.
mm,
So whereas before we could only direct to maybe one landing page with the main result, what we're able to do with Score Up and the GHL integration is actually show them their score in every category overall, which is amazing for category or personality or type-based quiz assessments, and then give them a full breakdown, which also is connected to a micro sales page for whatever said offer next step is, which we really loved. But what was better about this is it allowed us to take it a step further because not only are we able to create the front end quiz component, but it's the back end follow up that meant the most to us. So,
mm,
how then do we take people who are filling out the quiz on Score App and then have them actually show up inside of our Go HighLevel account uh, where it can all be custom embedded. So we wanted to actually have this quiz be built in Go HighLevel, meaning we're just using an embed iframe here to have the quiz live inside of the Go HighLevel funnel. And then all of the automation is actually set up with the integration that Go HighLevel has with ScoreApp, which allows us to transfer over all of the things as far as the fields, as far as all of the data. So if we go over to I want to say it's the lead form or
Now, as you pull it, as you're pulling out
yeah,
these
let me.
things, Sophie, help us understand the macro picture of what kind of industries could use something like a
Oh,
quiz
every
or an
industry.
inbound. Like, give us some use case scenarios on how, like, I know there's new agency owners, marketers, freelancers, as well as small business owners that are watching this and they're wondering, okay, how do I implement this into my business, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I think it really does apply to any and every type of business. Now we work with a pretty wide variety of companies from like winery, brick and mortars to automotive to like health and wellness practitioners. So we have a very wide range. But I think in all of that, if your general consumers is the actual individual or you're going B2C, it's an amazing tool, whether that's somebody who's just trying to get information on their health, whether that's somebody who's just trying to get information about their business, whether it's somebody wants information on um, their personality type. So I think the first thing is getting clear on knowing who your avatar is, and then obviously knowing what their interests are, and creating something that helps them feel like they're learning about themselves and tying that into your offer. Because whatever you're offering, whether it's a service or a product, it's providing a solution to whatever problem said person has. So if we know what the problems are and we know that there's tiers to each problem, then we can create a quiz to help them better understand their own problem and provide a more tailored solution.
I
Uh,
love that. And I think you're right.
yeah.
It applies everywhere. I mean, I recently looked at like an automotive site that I did a quiz on like how much is my car worth
Mhm.
and and then I started just getting bamboozled with messages about how I should get a new car and blah blah blah. Same thing happens with like real estate when you're looking for a new home. If you're planning a trip, somewhere and you're looking at a restaurant or reservations, sometimes they'll ask you for quizzes or just two or three question
Correct.
experiences. But yeah, you're right. There's so many different industries now that you think about it that it applies to. Okay, so keep going. You were showing us the result side of the page.
Yep. Yep. Uh, so let's pull this up real quick. Now, this is a hefty automation, so don't be scared when you see this. But what we do here is we have, when the survey is submitted, when the score up quiz is submitted, it transfers all of that data in. We're not going to get into like the data mapping and all of that because I don't think it's so relevant for this. But what you can see here is we're able to categorize with all of the automations built in Go High Level, this custom ability to say, okay, did they end up in the which category? Category A, B, C, or D? And then if so, we are able to create custom follow-up sequences for each category depending on their answers. And then from there, depending on how they react to it, we're able to add them to a specific nurture campaign. So this is
Mm.
where stuff gets like really cool and really fun. Now, obviously, there's logic on the back end beyond just this part because this is more like the big picture of it. Um, and all of this is connected to funnels that have trigger links that have everything we need to track and see, are they clicking on said trigger link to go to this sales page because they're showing interest in this product? When they land on that page, where are they going? What are they clicking on? And that's where things get really, really exciting, is we can then track everything from Go High Level as far as the source attribution, where are they coming from? We can track what pages they're landing on, where they're going, the conversion rates, and also everything related to the email campaigns that we're sending out. So we can see how we can optimize, how we can do better.
I love that. Would you be open to going through maybe one of the branches? Just kind of give us an idea of the spirit of the messaging, if you don't mind.
Yeah, totally.
Because I think people have multiple categories that they may have to build up, but if you just choose one and just kind of show us like, hey, this is the way we look at it, or I don't want you to sh give away the fish, but I want us to
Yeah, yeah, of
understand
course.
how to
So,
fish properly.
correct. Yeah, so we always start with like the quiz results, right? And so we custom tailor what that result email is going to look like and create content in that. So it's addressing their issue, redirecting to the custom landing page, and then also sharing more steps. And then from there, we go into what the main offer is that we're offering based on that specific answer, right? Is it this? Is it that? And then we go into more of a nurture approach. So our business is a little different. We don't do a whole lot of like hard direct sales, or we don't really teach that method. We focus a lot more on value. So then we go into saying like, here's an additional resource, here's an additional gift, and then it goes into a much more long form nurture campaign so we can keep audiences engaged and continuing to build relationship with them and continuing to stay top of mind without burning them out with like similar to your experience, being inundated with all of these sales messages about everything that you should be doing now that you've
Yeah.
taken this quick quiz.
That makes total sense. And I assume you're not texting. There's no other different formats. I guess you can, but
You
you're just in
could.
the early stages of that relationship,
Correct.
right?
Correct. Yeah. And a big part of that too, I'll pop off of the screen there. A big part of that too is having awareness about where you're generating your leads from. So in this case, and with this client, it's different, right? We're talking about like health, we're talking about chronic illness. So it's not as appropriate in that kind of avatar dynamic to be sending text messages and things like that. It would be more overwhelming than it would be helpful. So I think it depends again on the kind of industry you're in and the kind of person that you're working with, where that might be more appropriate. And a great
Maybe
example of
maybe
that
like
is
real
like
estate. Maybe like real estate.
exactly. Where
Yeah.
it's like, how interested are you in buying a house, right? Would you want to connect with somebody? And obviously, with like A2P compliance rules, like making sure that you're clear and you're asking consent around can you contact them with further information? Because the last thing we want to do is start to tarnish your reputation with a potential lead. Instead, we want to continue to build that. And again, this is just my personal philosophy, so it's not going to be a shared one with everyone, I'm sure. Um, but we want to focus on building that and really continuing to be top of mind as an amazing person that adds so much value that they're just, yeah, that's who I want to go to when I'm ready to buy.
I love that. So what else should we know about quiz oriented or quiz led lead generation?
Well, I think the biggest thing is figuring out your top of funnel and your bottom of funnel. And I think that's where most people get stuck.
Yeah, what does that mean when you say top of funnel? Like,
Yeah, so your top of funnel is essentially like what you're leading with, which is obviously the quiz, but how are you structuring said quiz? And it's worked out in a reverse engineer approach, similar to most development projects, where we start with the end result and then we work backwards. And so for most businesses, it's figuring out, okay, well, what are your products or your entry points that your clients would be coming into? That's going to be your bottom of funnel. What are they purchasing? And if we know where they're purchasing, then we can then trace back what the starting points would be. So if we're using real estate, it's like, okay, well, what would be the end goals that we would want to be tracking? Is there just one main end goal and we're just trying to get a sense of where people are at financially and how ready they are to buy? Is it that we want to see what kind of houses or areas they're interested in? What exactly is that? And then when we know that, we're able to work backwards. Because first we need to know where the buckets are. So whether it's personality types, whether it's categories of percentages that they're at, for us, it would be something like how well do they know their offer? Are they clear on their ideal client? Are they optimized in their sales systems? Do they have any marketing or SEO components built into it? Do they have automation set up? Depending on how they score in those categories, we would approach them differently to support them in that process. Versus the quiz that I just showed is more around percentages in different categories of illness so that they can target
mm,
specifically how to support the client best,
yeah.
what offers or resources would be most helpful. And then things like automotive would be similar. Is the goal just to get the client to buy a new car? Is the goal to potentially have them sell their car? Is the goal to just get them in the network and start to show them new offers? So I think that's really going to be the first thing that we want to start with. And it's oftentimes the piece that most people get hung up on when they're creating quizzes is because you think that you start from the front. But the reality is you don't. And if you're doing that, you're likely going to have a very hodgepodge mess on your hands. Um, because we want to start with the offers. And the quizzes are intentionally designed to be a funnel directing straight to said offer. So the offer, the sales sequence, and the nurture sequence are what come first, and then the quiz comes last. So the actual development of the questions and how we format those and how we structure those to lead into what categories, we don't really get to until the end of the process, uh, because we need to know how we're going to be leading people and where we're leading them to.
I love that. And I think the key is to make sure your client is involved in the process, right? Because you're gonna know and find out and discover uniqueness of that business that
Mhm.
could be totally different than another of the similar kind, right? Can you share a bit more about how that client relationship works with you when it comes to this?
Yeah, yeah. Well, so custom quizzes are fun, because every client is different. And a leg of our company is moving into app development, so actually like straight up mobile app development, but everything else happens in Go High Level.
Hmm.
Uh, so it's very much custom tailored to each individual client, and the first part starts with really doing like a thorough assessment of what are the goals. Um, and not so much like, how much money do you want to make this year? Generic questions like that. But it's like, what are you currently doing for lead generation? What are your current offers? What are your current freebies? What are your current open rates? Are you email marketing? What's the frequency look like? Because we're very focused on data. And I think that's the other thing that really stands out with Go High Level is you can tell from the way that the developers and the people at the top navigate the software is that everything is based on data, not just on preference, which I love because then I get to use the things that are also based on said data. And we bring that same lens to our clients where we want to know what's actually going on with them, where they're at in their business, because throwing all of the amazing things that we could at them at once usually doesn't end well, uh, both for the quiz, but also in GHL as a whole. And the way that we work as an agency is we have a little bit of a different approach in that we take clients on for micro projects first, and we love to wow them with the micro so that they want to work with us on the macro. Because what I've found is that when we try to go over the automations and the reputation management and all of the amazing pieces that exist, it usually leaves people feeling really overwhelmed and like they're at a bit of a fork in the road and they don't yet have the buy-in.
Yeah.
So with the quizzes, it's more so in the same way that entry point for our clients to come in and get a taste of what we can do and see how helpful Go High Level is because of how it's built. And then they start to get really curious about everything else that exists inside of there. And then they start to get curious about what it looks like to integrate other things and bits and parts and pieces. And that opens up a whole door of opportunities for both us and for them to continue building a really wonderful long-term relationship.
Yeah, and I always think about how nice it is to go through like a fine dining experience versus like a buffet, right? A lot
Yes.
of people do a tour of a buffet where if you did like a basic 2 or 3 course meal, but it's fine dining, the experience is totally different, expectations are different, the customer experience is different, like everything is just different. And I'm seeing more and more agencies pivot into that fine dining mode of like, here's all you need, and that's gonna do the ultimate satisfaction, the job that you're hoping for, versus here's everything I can do.
Yeah.
And I just want to double down on what you said is it's something that a lot of certified admins and experts in our community have been saying the same thing. Don't overwhelm your customer with everything inside of high level. You want to just pick and choose and just kind of create a solution that's relevant to them in the
Hmm.
phase that they're in. As they grow as a business, you can elevate them into different complexities that's needed. But great, great point there. So what else do we need to know about quiz-based lead generation? Are there any other pros and cons or anything that we're not considering?
I think those are going to be the biggest things without getting into like technical pieces, which I know we don't want to get too much into, because it opens up a whole can of worms. But what I'll say is you don't have to use Score App if you don't want to use Score App. I think it's a great tool for those who want more robust, expansive ones. But if you're somebody who's building a really simple quiz where, A equals B, then Go High Level is an amazing platform for that. And it also works really great for like intake and filtering. So we've integrated a lot of the quiz concepts. Like if you can master that, it saves so much time in your business in the long run because it does a lot of the filtering and a lot of the data aggregation for you. Um, and so if you can get comfortable with logic, which I think is one of the benefits and like the major pros of what Go High Level has to offer, it does such a big service for your business. Uh, and with that in mind, I would say simultaneously, it's getting clear on like whether you're somebody who, like myself, was in three, four, five, six different platforms trying to make it all work and then getting frustrated because I didn't understand Make and it was really annoying to try to figure out all these integrations and zaps and pieces. Or you're somebody who is an agency owner currently wanting to better leverage the platform for your clients. I think continuing to kind of ride that wave of what's the biggest thing that you want to solve right now that's going to make the biggest difference in your business in the shortest amount of time, and just mastering that one piece and not getting distracted with all of the shininess of all of the different features because it does create overwhelm. And so I would say that's really the big part is if right now the biggest piece in your business is higher quality lead gen, um, clients that are more prepared for enrollment, this might be a really wonderful strategy to implement in your business. And Go High Level is an amazing tool to implement that with. So I think those would be the two big things.
Yeah, I love it. Any final thoughts, final words that you want to share as we kind of close out the lunch and learn, unless you have anything else you want to show or just kind of teach us.
Yeah, I would say the last part is just going to be how you use it. And I think that's where folks say, like, okay, well, I have a really cool tool, but how do I actually bring people into it? And you might see my little sign behind me, um, where it talks about SEO, which is a big focus of what we do. And it's also, I think, a wonderful lead gen source that, again, most platforms don't integrate with. But Go High Level actually does have this, and this makes a big difference for us and how we work with our clients because we use a lot of Google Analytics and we can see all of that from our dashboard in Go High Level, which is how we actually drive a lot of the traffic to our quiz, because it's all SEO focused. It's all SEO based. We don't really use any kind of like social media marketing, though we have some clients who still sort of use it. Really, our goal and our approach, our philosophy for business is to do everything through search engine so that you don't ever have to be on the hamster wheel of organic content marketing 24/7 on Instagram and Facebook.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate all of you tuning in for an episode of Lunch and Learn. Make sure you check out Sophie's bio page, the directory. She's got her social channels everywhere. Feel free to drop your handles or whatnot, and we'll make sure the team puts it together. And if you're watching this and you don't have a high level account just yet as well, you'll see links in the description. You can jump into a 30-day trial if you choose to. And Sophie's pretty active in our community, and she's, I think, part of all of our groups and things like that. And looking forward to, doing more cool things with you guys.
Yeah,
Thank you,
love it. Thank you
Sophie.
so much.
Okay, bye for now.